Imagine for a moment, right, that you are just standing in the aisle of your local grocery store and you're looking at a carton of like really premium free-range
The
eggs.
kind that costs a small fortune, yeah.
Exactly. Now, I want you to imagine that the exact same farm those eggs came from is simultaneously selling the global cloud computing power necessary to run your favorite smartphone app.
It sounds completely absurd.
Right. It sounds like a joke. But today, we are exploring a system that actually makes that a reality. We're doing a deep dive into an agricultural operation that uses chickens as, like, biological Roombas.
And rabbits as heavy-duty industrial shredders.
Yes, and an on-site AI supercomputer to basically orchestrate the entire thing. The company is called Ladang Microfarms, and I mean, they are taking the entire concept of farming and just turning it completely upside down.
They really are. It is a radical departure from, well, from everything we assume about food production.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the traditional linear model of agriculture you're probably familiar with.
Right, the whole put stuff in, get one thing out model.
Exactly. A farmer buys expensive inputs, things like chemical fertilizer, commodity grain feed, massive amounts of diesel fuel.
And it all costs a fortune.
Right. They pour all of that money into the front end of the farm. They extract their single crop, or, their protein. And at the back end, they are left with a mountain of biological refuse. Just waste.
And managing that waste is a nightmare, financially speaking. I mean, you're either paying someone to haul it away or paying for facilities to treat it.
Or it just sits there slowly degrading.
Right, turning into an environmental liability and polluting the local water table.
Which means the traditional farm is just full of cost centers, places where money just bleeds out. But what we are untacking today is a completely circular model.
And that's the key word here, circular.
Exactly. We're looking at an architecture where the biological waste isn't a problem to be disposed of. It is literally the core fuel for the next stage of the farm.
So instead of buying feed, the livestock just eat the disposal problems.
Right. And in the process, they generate high-value protein and free fertilizer. I mean, it mathematically optimizes biology.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we can even get to the chickens running through automated wire tunnels or the data-driven rabbits, you need to understand the ecosystem that these animals are living in.
Yeah, the macro view is crucial here.
Right, because Ladang isn't just a plot of land with some barns on it. It operates on what they call 7 distinct synergistic pillars.
Which is basically an economic fortress.
Literally. Built on everything from biomass energy to advanced logistics. But to really grasp how this works, we need to zoom in on their cultivation and land regeneration systems.
What they refer to as Pillar 3 in the document.
Right, Pillar 3. This is where the actual biology happens.
And Pillar 3 is where the traditional monoculture concept just completely dies. I mean, in traditional farming, if you plant 500 acres of corn, and the global commodity price of corn drops by 10%.
Or a specific blight hits your fields.
Exactly. You are facing bankruptcy. You're completely exposed to a singular catastrophic point of failure.
You are entirely at the mercy of a single market and the weather.
But Ladang is engaged in, well, strategic risk mitigation through hyper-diversification. They aren't just growing one thing. Under this cultivation pillar, they are running advanced plant cultivation, advanced aquaculture, insect farming, mushroom farming, and humane livestock farming.
All in the exact same microfarm.
All in the same interconnected space.
Okay, let's break those down because the specific technologies they're using in these micro units are wild. Let's start with the mushroom farming.
Oh, this part is fascinating.
Right, because they aren't just tossing some spores on a wet log in the woods, they're growing shiitake mushrooms using AI-controlled cultivation fridges.
Yeah.
So how does an AI fridge work for a mushroom? Like, what is it actually doing?
Well, to understand that, you have to look at the biology of a shiitake. A mushroom is essentially the fruiting body of a fungal network, right? And its development is incredibly sensitive to microfluctuations in its environment.
Like temperature and stuff?
Temperature, humidity, everything. If the humidity drops by a few percentage points, or say the carbon dioxide levels in the room spike because the ventilation is off, the mushroom caps might crack.
Ah.
Or they might not fruit at all.
Wow, so they're that delicate.
Extremely. In a traditional setup, humans are constantly checking gauges, opening vents, spraying water. It's super labor-intensive.
And prone to human error, obviously.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the AI fridge removes the human error entirely. It constantly monitors those variables: moisture, ambient temperature, CO2 saturation down to the decimal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. If the AI detects that the humidity is dropping, It triggers micromisters automatically. It maintains absolute perfect atmospheric conditions for optimal fruiting 24/7.
Which guarantees a highly predictable harvest every single cycle.
Maximum yield, zero guesswork.
But I mean, even with a perfect harvest, mushrooms have a notoriously short shelf life. You harvest a pristine shiitake and you have, what, days before it turns slimy and unsellable?
If you're lucky, yeah.
So how do they deal with the logistics of getting fresh mushrooms to market before they spoil? Especially if this is a microfarm located far away from a major urban center.
Well, that is where their vacuum frying technology comes in. This is a crucial part of the closed-loop economics we were talking about.
Okay, vacuum frying.
Right, because not every mushroom is going to look perfect enough for the fresh produce aisle. Some grow a little misshapen, or they're just not cosmetically ideal.
So instead of throwing those away as waste,
They process them on site using vacuum frying.
I've heard of deep frying, obviously. But how is this different? Doesn't deep frying a mushroom just turn it into, like, a greasy, unhealthy sponge?
If you deep fry it traditionally, yes, absolutely. Conventional deep frying happens at very high temperatures, usually around 170 to 190 degrees Celsius.
That's super hot.
Right. At that heat, the oil oxidizes rapidly, and the intense temperature basically destroys a lot of the heat-sensitive vitamins and nutrients in the food.
So it tastes good, but it's terrible for you.
Exactly. But vacuum frying changes the actual physics of the cooking process.
How so?
By placing the frying chamber under a vacuum, you lower the atmospheric pressure, and when you lower the atmospheric pressure, you significantly lower the boiling point of water.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, which means you can fry the mushrooms at a much lower temperature, often around 80 or 90 degrees Celsius.
So the water inside the mushroom still boils off, making it crispy.
Right, incredibly crispy. But the low temperature prevents the oil from degrading. It preserves the natural color and flavor, and most importantly, it retains the nutritional profile of the shiitake.
That is brilliant. So they take the aesthetically imperfect mushrooms, what would normally be a total financial loss, and they transform them into a shelf-stable, premium, healthy snack product.
It's a massive margin expansion.
But mushrooms are just one piece of the puzzle here. Let's look at the insect farming, because they are specifically cultivating black soldier flies.
The famous BSF.
Yeah. Now, I know black soldier flies are having a major moment in the sustainable agriculture world, but why are they so essential to this specific microfarm ecosystem?
Well, the black soldier fly, or BSF, is arguably the most efficient biological recycling machine on the planet. Its entire larval stage is basically dedicated to consuming organic matter at an astonishing rate.
Like, how astonishing.
I mean, if you have agricultural waste, say, the fibrous substrate left over after those shiitake mushrooms have fruited, or discarded vegetative matter from the plant cultivation units, you don't compost it traditionally. That takes months.
Right, you feed it to the larvae.
Exactly. You feed it to the BSF larvae.
And they just chew through it.
They absolutely devour it.
Huh.
A colony of black soldier fly larvae can reduce the volume of organic waste by up to 50 or 60% in a matter of days.
Days.
Days. And as they consume that waste, they are converting those low-value carbohydrates into highly concentrated premium insect protein and valuable fats within their own bodies.
So they are essentially refining the waste. They take the garbage from Pillar 3 and literally turn themselves into little protein capsules.
Precisely. And what's left behind after the larvae have eaten is something called frass.
Frass. Like insect manure.
Exactly. And it is a highly potent, nutrient-dense organic fertilizer. So out of a pile of rotting plant matter, the farm extracts high-grade protein and premium fertilizer in less than 2 weeks, using virtually zero electricity or heavy machinery.
Wow. I want to hold on to that thought about the insect protein because I know that becomes incredibly important when we talk about the chickens later. But let's keep mapping out this cultivation pillar.
Sure.
We have the mushrooms, we have the insect waste processors. What about the actual plants? The documents say the farm utilizes aeroponics, aquaponics, and permaculture.
Yeah, it's a multi-layered approach.
It sounds like a lot of different growing methodologies just stacked on top of each other. Why not just pick one and stick with it?
Because each methodology serves a completely different ecological and economic function. I mean, think of permaculture as the foundational layer.
Okay, lay that out for me.
Permaculture is about designing agricultural ecosystems that mimic natural forests. It utilizes perennial plants, trees, and shrubs that don't need to be replanted every single year.
So they're permanent.
Right. They develop deep root systems, they stabilize the soil, they retain water, and they provide a long-term stable yield of fruits or nuts. It's the slow, steady heartbeat of the land regeneration.
Right. It's about healing the soil and creating a permanent canopy. But permaculture doesn't necessarily give you the rapid turnover, high cash value crops you need to keep a fast-paced business afloat.
Exactly. And that is where the advanced controlled environment systems come in, like aeroponics.
Now, aeroponics is the absolute extreme of high-tech, rapid cultivation, right?
It is. In an aeroponics system, there is no soil at all. The plants are literally suspended in the air, and their exposed roots are periodically misted with a highly calibrated, nutrient-rich water solution.
No soil. Just roots dangling in the air. That sounds incredibly delicate. What's the advantage there?
Speed and resource efficiency. Because the roots have 100% access to oxygen in the air, the plants grow significantly faster than they would in soil, or even in a traditional hydroponic water bath.
Wow.
Furthermore, aeroponics uses up to 95% less water than traditional field farming.
95%. That's insane.
In regions facing water scarcity, this is revolutionary. You can grow right. In a normal fish farm, you have to constantly flush that dirty water out, which usually pollutes local waterways. But in an aquaponic system, that ammonia-rich water is pumped into biofilters.
Okay, and what happens there?
Naturally occurring bacteria convert the ammonia into nitrates.
And nitrates are basically liquid gold for plants.
Exactly. The nitrate-rich water is then flooded into the plant cultivation beds. The plants absorb the nitrates to grow, and in doing so, they completely filter and purify the water.
And then that clean water goes right back to the fish.
You got it. The only major input required is the fish feed.
And wait, let me guess. That fish feed doesn't have to be bought from a commercial supplier because they have a massive supply of high-protein black soldier fly larvae churning through waste in the insect unit right next door.
You're starting to see the architecture of the closed loop. The waste of one system is the prime input for the next.
It's biological automation. That is so cool. Let's talk about the specific aquaculture they're running, though, because it isn't just like standard tilapia in a pond.
No, not at all.
They are operating vertical crab farming and cultivating a fish called the empuro. Let's start with the crabs. Mud crabs are a massive delicacy, especially in Asian markets, but farming them is notoriously difficult, right?
Very difficult. They are aggressive, they are highly cannibalistic, and they typically require massive areas of mangrove swamps to cultivate naturally.
So how do you farm crabs vertically?
By isolating them in individual modular housing units that are stacked on top of each other. Imagine a bookcase, but every slot contains a specialized aquatic box housing a single crab.
Like a high-rise apartment building for crustaceans.
A fully plumbed high-rise, yeah. Water from a central recirculating aquaculture system flows continuously through each individual box.
Okay, so that solves the fighting.
Exactly. This setup completely eliminates the cannibalism issue because the crabs never even interact. It also allows the farmer to monitor the exact feed intake and health of every single crab.
And economically.
The footprint is microscopic compared to a traditional pond. You can raise thousands of high-value mud crabs in a facility the size of a standard warehouse.
Wow. And they are doing this alongside the empuro fish. Now, I actually had to look this up when I was reviewing the material. The empuro is sometimes referred to as the forgettable fish, which is ironic because its price tag is definitely unforgettable.
Oh, absolutely.
It is one of the most expensive freshwater fish in the world, heavily prized in Malaysia and across Southeast Asia. Why is it so valuable, and why farm it here?
Well, in the wild, the empuro lives in fast-flowing, pristine jungle rivers, and its diet consists largely of wild fruits that fall from the canopy into the water.
Wait, a fruit-eating fish?
Yeah. And this specific diet gives its flesh a unique, rich, almost fruity flavor that commands exorbitant prices in fine dining restaurants. But farming them is incredibly challenging because they require immaculate water quality and a very specific nutritional profile.
But Ecoladang has the technology to mimic those conditions.
Exactly. Because of the advanced aquaponic filtration systems and the AI-monitored water quality controls we just discussed, they can maintain that pristine aquatic environment.
And the diet.
By cultivating specific fruits and insects on the farm, they can replicate the dietary profile the empuro requires. It is the ultimate expression of capturing a high-margin niche market.
So they aren't trying to compete with massive industrial salmon farms on volume.
No, not at all. They're utilizing precision technology to cultivate a luxury product in a completely controlled, sustainable environment.
Okay, I'm visualizing this entire setup now. We have AI fridges growing perfect mushrooms, insect larvae digesting the waste, aeroponic greens growing on mist, stacked departments of mud crabs, and logerie river fish swimming in filtered aquaponic tanks.
It's quite the picture.
It is a stunning piece of engineering, and I really have to stop and ask a fundamental question about the logistics here. On a spreadsheet, these circular loops look elegant. The insect waste feeds the plant waste feeds the insects.
Right.
But in the physical world, someone actually has to move that material. If I drop a leaf in the aeroponics bay, it doesn't just magically teleport to the black soldier fly bin. If there are spilled insect larvae on the floor of the cultivation room, they don't just disappear. Without an army of human farmhands constantly sweeping, sorting, and hauling wheelbarrows of organic matter between these micro units, doesn't the whole system just grind to a halt?
Well, you've hit on it. That is the exact vulnerability that destroys the profit margins of most complex, integrated agricultural projects.
Right.
The labor required to manage the micro-logistics, the constant sweeping, moving, and cleaning overwhelms the system.
It's just too expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But Ecoladang solves this by integrating the biology directly into the logistics network.
Huh?
They don't hire an army of humans to move the low-level waste. They deploy the Avian unit.
The chicken?
The chickens are the logistics.
And this brings us to one of the most visually fascinating concepts in this entire operation, the mobility as a service system, the chicken loops.
It is a brilliant reimagining of both animal welfare and operational efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's contrast this with traditional poultry farming. In a conventional system, chickens are treated as a biological machine confined to a single spot. Often, these are battery cages where the bird cannot even spread its wings, or tightly packed barns where they literally just stand in their own waste.
And you just pour external commodity feed, usually a heavily processed soy and corn mix into a trough.
Right, and that feed is a massive cost center. You are subjected to global supply chain fluctuations, the cost of diesel to transport the grain across continents, and the environmental footprint of growing that monoculture soy.
It's terrible.
You pour expensive inputs in, you get eggs out, and you are left with a mountain of highly concentrated, toxic manure to deal with.
But Ecoladang completely abandons the battery cage model. They utilize what are called Kampong chickens. What is a Kampong chicken, and why is the breed so important here?
So Kampong essentially translates to village in Malay. These are heritage breeds, free-range village chickens. Unlike the highly genetically modified commercial broilers, the ones that grow so fast their legs can barely support them.
Right, the typical factory farm birds?
Yeah. Kampong chickens are robust, they're active, and they retain all of their natural foraging instincts. They are designed by nature to constantly scratch, peck, and move in search of food.
So instead of suppressing that natural instinct by locking them in a cage, the farm actually weaponizes that instinct. They harness the scratching and pecking.
Exactly. They build the architecture of the farm around it. The Avian unit consists of automated coops connected to a sprawling network of secure, enclosed wire hoop tunnels.
Okay, wire tunnels?
These tunnels act as biological corridors physically connecting the different microfarms. The tunnels run along the floors, under the hydroponic benches, and around the perimeters of the insect units.
Wow, it's like an automated subway system, but instead of moving commuters to their office buildings, the system is routing a flock of heritage chickens to a fresh spill of organic material in Terminal B.
That is a perfect analogy. The chickens literally patrol these wire corridors throughout the day.
Yeah.
And as they patrol, they act as biological vacuum.
Just cleaning up.
Exactly. They consume post-harvest scraps, discarded leaves from the aeroponics bay, trimming waste from the mushroom fridges, and most importantly, any stray black soldier fly larvae or spilled feed from the insect cultivation area.
The documents refer to this as zero-cost feed supplementation, but let me stress test this for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
I understand that having the chickens eat the trash saves you the cost of sweeping the floors. But if these birds are just wandering through tubes, eating random floor spills and discarded hydroponic leaves, how does that translate to a premium agricultural product?
Ah, I see what you're asking.
Yeah, like if you want to sell a high-quality premium egg, doesn't the chicken require a strictly controlled, scientifically formulated diet?
Yeah.
If they are just eating the farm's garbage, aren't we just getting garbage eggs?
Well, that assumption fundamentally misunderstands what waste means in this specific context. In a human context, we hear waste and we think of, like, a landfill. But look at what the chickens are actually consuming in these loops. Stray black soldier fly larvae. That isn't trash. That is pure, high-quality, bioavailable protein and essential healthy fats.
Okay, good point.
Trimmings from shiitake mushrooms, Those are packed with complex carbohydrates, micronutrients, and immune-boosting beta-glucans.
So it isn't garbage. It's an incredibly nutrient-dense superfood buffet that just happens to be located on the floor.
Exactly. A chicken's natural evolutionary diet is not a ground-up, dehydrated synthetic corn pellet. Their natural diet is exactly what they're finding in these tunnels. A diverse mix of insects, fresh green plant matter, and fungi.
Which makes them healthier.
So much healthier. Because they are consuming this naturally balanced, highly diverse diet, and because they are constantly exercising and moving through the tunnels rather than sitting in a cage, their physiological health is vastly superior.
And that biological health translates directly into the final product.
It does. A foraging hen produces an egg with a richer, darker yolk, a higher concentration of omega-3 fatty acids, and better overall nutritional density compared to a battery hen.
Oh, wow.
This allows the franchisee to command a significant premium price point in the market.
So the economic math here is incredible. On the one hand, you are dropping your input costs for feed down to near zero because the chickens are scavenging the farm's byproducts.
Right.
On the other hand, you are simultaneously elevating the retail value of the eggs they produce. And as an added bonus, as the chickens scratch the soil inside these wire tunnels, they are naturally aerating the ground and depositing their nitrogen-rich manure directly back into the permaculture systems.
It's a complete, elegant loop.
It is a masterpiece of integrated biology. But here is where I see a major mechanical flaw in the system.
Okay, what's that?
I'm thinking about the scale of the waste. Chickens have beaks, right? They are great at pecking at soft bugs, soft mushroom stems, and tender aeroponic lettuce leaves.
Yes, they prefer soft forage.
But a farm operating at this scale, with robust permaculture elements and regional biomass inputs, produces a lot of heavy, tough, woody waste. A chicken cannot digest a tough, fibrous stalk of a harvested plant.
No, they definitely can't.
They certainly can't break down dense agricultural biomass. If the goal is a completely zero-waste footprint, relying purely on chickens leaves a massive fibrous gap in the system. The heavy-duty trash just piles up.
You've identified the exact limitation of the avian unit, and that is exactly why the architecture of the farm shifts to incorporate the legomorph unit, cuniculture.
The breeding of rabbits.
Exactly, the rabbits.
So if the chickens are the nimble biological vacuums handling the soft waste, the rabbits are the heavy-duty industrial shredders.
That is an excellent way to conceptualize it. Rabbits are hindgut fermenters. Their digestive tracts have evolved specifically to break down and extract nutrients from incredibly tough, fibrous materials that other non-ruminant animals like chickens or humans simply cannot digest.
Interesting.
Ecoladang strategically places the rabbit unit to consume the dense waste that the rest of the farm rejects.
What kind of waste are we talking about specifically?
We are talking about processed vegetable trimmings, the tough, woody stalks from the permaculture harvests, and economical regional byproducts. A prime example utilized in this system is palm kernel cake, or PKC.
Okay, let's dive into PKC because I know palm oil is a massive industry, particularly in regions like Malaysia and Indonesia. What exactly is palm kernel cake and why is it such a problem for traditional agriculture?
Well, to understand PKC, you have to look at the palm oil extraction process. You harvest the fresh fruit bunches from the oil palm tree, you crush those fruits and extract the palm oil, which goes into thousands of consumer products globally.
Everything from soap to peanut butter.
Right. But after you've squeezed out the oil, you are left with the crushed kernel and the fibrous shell. That leftover mass is palm kernel cake.
It's the dry, squeezed-out sponge.
Exactly. And millions of tons of this are produced annually. The problem is that it is incredibly high in lignin and hemicellulose, very tough, woody plant fibers.
And most animals can't eat that.
No, you can't feed large amounts of it to chickens or pigs because they simply can't digest it. It blocks their digestive tracts. So it often becomes a massive, bulky waste byproduct. It's expensive to transport, it's difficult to dispose of sustainably, and it literally just piles up at the processing mills.
But a rabbit's digestive tract looks at that tough, woody lignin and sees lunch.
Precisely. Because of the specialized bacteria in their cecum, rabbits can ferment and break down those complex fibers. So Ecoladang takes this incredibly cheap, abundant, regionally problematic waste product and they feed it to the lagomorphs.
And rabbits, famously, grow and multiply very quickly.
Very quickly. They offer an incredibly fast feed-to-meat conversion ratio. They require very minimal capital expenditure in terms of housing compared to large livestock like cattle.
Thanks.
By feeding them this low-value biomass, the farm is converting a regional disposal headache into high-quality, low-fat protein. The specialized rabbit meat becomes a dedicated, stable revenue stream serving regional niche meat markets, which is highly prized in many culinary traditions.
So we've solved the fibrous waste problem. But wait, we still have an output problem. The rabbits eat the heavy biomass, they produce meat, but they also produce a massive amount of manure.
Yes, they do.
If the chickens are depositing their waste directly into the permaculture tunnels as they walk, what happens to the rabbit manure? Does that just become the new toxic pile?
Not in a circular system. The rabbit manure, along with the collected bedding from the automated chicken coops, represents an incredibly concentrated source of nitrogen and phosphorus.
Okay.
But instead of applying it raw to the fields, which can sometimes burn young plants, the farm routes this waste into a vermicomposting system.
Vermicomposting, using worms to break down the manure.
Right. Specialized composting worms consume the raw manure. As it passes through the worm's digestive tracts, it is broken down mechanically and chemically.
And they excrete.
The worms excrete worm castings, which are arguably the finest, most biologically active, perfectly balanced natural soil amendment on the planet.
It's like pre-digesting the fertilizer so the plants can absorb it instantly.
Exactly. Those worm castings are then harvested and used to fertilize the permaculture trees and to create the nutrient teas used in the advanced cultivation units.
So let's trace the life cycle of a single, tough, woody palm stalk through this entire operation. The regional mill views it as trash. Ecolodang takes it. The rabbit eats the woody stalk. The rabbit produces manure. The worm eats the manure. The worm produces a casting. The casting fertilizes a permaculture fruit tree. The tree drops a leaf. The chicken eats the leaf. The chicken produces an egg.
Beautifully summarized.
It is a completely sealed, zero-waste loop. Every single output is an input. It is a stunning biological ballet.
It is elegant on paper, yes.
But I want to bring us back to the physical reality of what we just described. We have Kampong chickens running through wire tunnels. We have racks of rabbits processing palm kernel cake. We have bins of black soldier flies, stacked apartments of mud crabs, and AI fridges full of mushrooms.
All under one roof, practically.
Exactly. All of this is happening in close physical proximity on a single microfarm.
A very dense integration of biology.
Let's be real for a second. If you have that much biological chaos happening in one space, how does the whole place not instantly collapse into a cross-contaminated disaster?
That'd be a huge risk.
I mean, if one sick chicken accidentally wanders into the pristine aeroponics bay, or if the water from the crab tanks splashes into the insect bins, you have a massive biosecurity breach. Without a massive team of human managers directing traffic, blowing whistles, and closing gates, how do you manage the chaos?
Well, you are touching on the absolute critical failure point of integrated farming: biosecurity and systemic oversight. If a pathogen enters a tightly packed, closed-loop system, it doesn't just kill one animal, it ripples through the entire ecosystem.
The permaculture dies, the insects die, the chickens die.
Exactly. Ecolodang knows this. The reason this farm doesn't devolve into a chaotic free-for-all is because the animals are not just turned loose. Every single heartbeat, every gait movement, every humidity level, and every environmental variable is overseen by an entity far more capable than a human farmhand.
Enter the central brain, the private compact data space, the PCDS.
This is the moment where Ecolodang transcends being a clever biological farm and reveals itself as a highly advanced technology infrastructure company.
Let's break down exactly what this PCDS is, because it sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie. It's described as a secure, sovereign, hardened AI data center physically located right on the microfarm.
Yes.
This AI is the air traffic controller for the entire biological ballet. How does it physically interact with the animals?
Let's look at the three main vectors it controls: health, movement, and nutrition. Starting with health. In a conventional massive poultry barn, a human farmer often doesn't know a bird is sick until they see physical symptoms.
Lethargy, coughing, that sort of thing.
Or, unfortunately, mortality. By the time the human sees it, the pathogen has likely already spread to the flock, and the only solution is to carpet bomb the entire barn with antibiotics.
Which breeds antibiotic resistance and ruins the organic nature of the product.
Exactly. The PCDS operates entirely differently. It utilizes a vast array of environmental and biometric sensors distributed throughout the facility and the chicken loops.
What kind of sensors?
We're talking about thermal imaging cameras that can detect a 1-degree spike in a single chicken's body temperature.
Wait, a single chicken out of the flock?
Out of the whole flock. We're also talking about acoustic sensors that analyze the frequency of the bird's vocalizations or the chewing rate of the rabbits.
Wait, it can hear if a rabbit is chewing slower than normal.
Yes. A decrease in feed consumption is often the very first indicator of gastrointestinal distress in a lagomorph. The AI processes these millions of data points in real time.
It is wild.
If it detects that a specific chicken has a slightly elevated temperature and is moving sluggishly, the PCDS doesn't wait for a human to notice. It flags the anomaly instantly, isolating the animal for early intervention.
Wow.
It acts preventatively, ensuring incredibly low mortality rates and drastically reducing the need for pharmaceutical interventions.
That is precision medicine applied to agriculture. But the AI doesn't just watch them, it actively controls where they go. We talked about those chicken loops, the subway system. The chickens don't just wander aimlessly.
No, they are actively routed. This is the bioseparation aspect that answers your concern about cross-contamination. The PCDS operates the automated gates within the wire hoop tunnels.
Okay, so it controls the doors?
It utilizes scheduling algorithms and real-time sensor feedback to know exactly where the waste needs to be processed.
So if a fresh batch of black soldier fly frass is dropped in Sector 4, the AI knows about it.
It knows instantly. The PCDS opens the necessary sequence of gates, creating a clear pathway for a specific flock of Kampong chickens to navigate directly to Sector 4.
And then?
Once they arrive and process the organic material, the gates close behind them. The AI ensures that the chickens processing the heavy compost never accidentally cross paths with the delicate, highly sanitized hydroponic seedling area.
That makes so much sense.
It manages the flow of the biological workforce with absolute mathematical precision, maintaining perfect biosecurity protocols without requiring a human to ever touch a latch.
And it handles the feeding too, right? Because even though they are foraging for the high-protein insects and mushroom scraps, they still need some baseline nutritional guarantees.
Yes, the AI controls automated precision feed dispensers located within the coops. It calculates the exact caloric intake the flock has gathered from foraging that day, analyzes the growth stage and market readiness of the birds, and dispenses the exact micronutrients required to supplement their diet.
So it's basically a customized meal plan every day.
Exactly. Nothing is overfed, which eliminates wasted feed, and nothing is underfed, guaranteeing a consistent, premium final product.
It is genuinely mind-bending. You have a chicken coop being operated with the logistical sophistication of an autonomous smart city traffic grid. But I have to pause here because there is a massive juxtaposition in this business model that I find incredibly fascinating.
Let's hear it.
We have just established that this PCDS is an insanely powerful AI supercomputer making millions of calculations a second.
It is a massive amount of computational power, yes.
But the operation of a farm, even a high-tech one with thermal cameras and automated gates, surely doesn't require 100% of the processing capability of a hardened data center. And this brings us to the most surprising element of ecolotting.
The digital crop.
Yes, the AI doesn't just manage the farm. It actively earns revenue by offering what they call sovereign compute services to the global market.
This is where the economic model becomes truly revolutionary.
I need to understand this. We have a farm selling premium Kampong chicken eggs, Impuro fish, vacuum-fried mushrooms, and global cloud computing server space. How does that even make sense? Are these tech executives who decided to try their hand at farming, or are these traditional farmers who accidentally built a tech conglomerate?
Well, the brilliance of ecolodang is that they recognize that the boundary between agriculture and technology is artificial. They are actively erasing that dichotomy. In their model, data and computational power are just another crop to be harvested and sold.
Let's define the terminology here. What exactly does sovereign compute mean, and why is it important that the data center is physically located on the farm? Why not just run the AI logic through a massive third-party cloud provider located in a server farm hundreds of miles away?
To understand that, you have to understand the concept of edge computing versus cloud computing. If you rely entirely on a centralized cloud provider, say, a massive server facility located in a different state or even a different country, every single data point from the farm has to be transmitted over the internet, processed remotely, and the command sent back.
Which introduces latency. It takes time for the signal to travel.
Exactly. Think of it like the human nervous system. If you touch a boiling hot stove, your hand pulls away instantly. That reaction doesn't happen because the signal traveled all the way up to your brain, and your brain consciously decided to move your hand.
Right, that would take too long.
You'd be severely burned. Your body uses a reflex arc in your spinal cord to process the information locally and trigger an immediate reaction. That is edge computing.
Processing the critical data right where the action is happening.
Exactly. On a highly mechanized microfarm, latency is a severe burn. If a sudden storm knocks out the rural internet connection, or if the third-party cloud provider experiences an outage, you do not want your automated feeding gates to lock shut, or your AI fridges to stop regulating the mushroom humidity.
That would be disastrous.
By having the PCDS physically on-site, acting as a hardened edge computing center, the farm is entirely resilient. It orchestrates all the life support systems locally, securely, and without relying on external internet infrastructure.
And the sovereign part.
That refers to data privacy and security. The operational data, the financial metrics, the proprietary algorithms, none of it leaves the physical jurisdiction of the farm. It isn't sitting on a server in a foreign country subject to foreign data laws. It is sovereign to the microfarm itself.
Okay, so the local processing makes the farm resilient and secure. But how does that turn into a revenue stream?
Remember Pillar 1, biomass energy?
Oh, right.
The farm is utilizing gasification and pyrolysis of agricultural waste to generate its own clean electricity. They have an abundance of extremely cheap off-grid power. They use that power to run a highly advanced AI server stack. The farm's immediate operational needs, opening gates, monitoring thermal cameras, might only use 20% of that server's processing capacity.
Leaving 80% of the supercomputer sitting idle.
Precisely. And in the modern digital economy, computational power is one of the most highly sought-after commodities in the world. Companies globally need server space to train AI models, process complex financial transactions, or render high-definition graphics. Ecolabing leases that excess sovereign computational power out to external clients over secure networks.
So let me get this straight. The farm takes agricultural waste. It burns it to make clean electricity. That electricity powers the AI.
Right.
The AI uses a fraction of its brain to perfectly manage the biology of the farm, ensuring zero waste. And it uses the rest of its brain to mine data or lease server space, generating a massive, high-margin digital cash flow.
It is a completely brilliant dual-revenue architecture. The biological ecosystem fuels the technological ecosystem, and the technological ecosystem manages the biological ecosystem.
It is a breathtaking piece of systems engineering. But as I look at all of this, the AI coding, the thermal cameras, the biology of Kampong chickens, the chemistry of gasification, the advanced vacuum frying, I keep coming back to a very practical human problem. All of this incredible technology is completely useless if it cannot be scaled.
Scalability is always the final hurdle.
Exactly. If running one of these microfarms requires you to hold a PhD in computer science, a master's in veterinary pathology, and a degree in advanced chemical engineering, it is never going to change the world. It will just remain an isolated, expensive science experiment. A regular person cannot build or operate this.
And that insight leads us directly to the final piece of the Ecolabing puzzle,
Yeah.
their deployment strategy. They're not trying to build one massive centralized mega farm and keep all the secrets to themselves. They have engineered this entire sci-fi setup to be deployed as a franchised, highly accessible business model.
A franchise. Like opening a fast food restaurant, but instead of fryers and burgers, you are getting an AI supercomputer and a flock of biological Roombas. How do they actually package something this complex for a franchisee?
The secret lies in the digitization of standard operating procedures, or SOPs. Farming, historically, has always relied on deeply ingrained generational knowledge. A traditional farmer knows exactly when the soil feels right for planting. They know how to spot the subtle signs of a respiratory infection in a flock of birds, and they know the exact atmospheric signs of an incoming frost.
Right, because their parents taught them and their grandparents taught their parents.
It's an intuitive knowledge base passed down through the family line. Exactly. But we are facing a massive global demographic crisis in agriculture. The younger generation is migrating to urban centers. The older generation is retiring. That innate, highly complex generational knowledge is literally dying out. You can't just hand a city dweller a plot of land and say, figure it out. They will fail.
So how does Ecolabing solve the knowledge gap?
They have taken 4 decades of highly specialized agricultural, biological, and IT operational expertise and meticulously digitized it into the PCDS. The AI doesn't just run the farm, it runs the farmer.
Wow.
The system contains exhaustive, real-time SOPs for every single one of the 7 pillars. It constantly analyzes the performance of every microunit, identifies bottlenecks, and pushes actionable prompts to the franchisee.
It's like downloading a software patch that instantly upgrades your brain to possess 40 years of farming experience.
Exactly. If the AI detects that the humidity in the shiitake fridge is fluctuating, It doesn't just sound an alarm.
Mm.
It tells the operator exactly which valve to check and how to calibrate it. It removes the guesswork. It lowers the barrier to entry, allowing someone who might be entirely new to advanced agriculture to successfully operate a highly complex, multi-layered ecosystem with minimal startup risk.
It democratizes the technology. But there is another massive barrier to entry for small farmers that knowledge alone can't fix, and that is market access.
Yes, distribution.
I mean, I can follow the AI's instructions perfectly. I can raise the most beautiful premium Kampong chickens, the highest quality shiitake mushrooms, and the most luxurious Empiro fish in the world. But if I don't have the logistical network to get those delicate products to a buyer before they spoil, I don't have a business. I just have a very expensive hobby.
That is the tragic reality that bankrupts many small, independent, sustainable farms. They master the art of cultivation, but they fail entirely at the logistics of distribution. They simply cannot compete with the massive, entrenched, centralized supply chains of industrial factory agriculture.
How does the Ecoladang franchise model address that?
By offering guaranteed supply chain integration built directly into the franchise agreement, they don't just sell you the hardware and walk away. The Ecoladang network provides the overarching services required to move the product. This includes built-in cold chain logistics, standardized ethical packaging, and direct market distribution channels.
So the franchisee focuses entirely on running the microfarm, and the broader corporate network ensures that the product actually reaches the consumer.
Precisely. And because of the highly transparent, data-driven nature of the farm, these products command a unique position in the market. They're not just selling commodity chicken or generic mushrooms. They are selling what the industry categorizes as ethical protein and verifiable sustainable produce.
Because the PCDS tracks everything, you can literally prove the ethical nature of the product.
Consumers today are increasingly demanding radical transparency. They want to know that the animal was raised with high welfare standards, that the environmental footprint was minimal, and that no toxic chemicals were used. Because the PCDS guarantees and records the biosecurity, the natural foraging diet, and the zero-waste loop powered by clean energy, the franchisee can command significant premium prices.
It's brilliant.
They are actively avoiding the race to the bottom on price that defines commodity farming. They are capturing the high-margin, ethical consumer market.
It fundamentally changes the math of being a small farmer. Let's pull all of these incredibly complex threads together because we have covered a massive amount of ground today. We started this deep dive looking at the linear, wasteful, environmentally destructive reality of modern industrial agriculture.
The model of extracting value and leaving behind toxic waste.
Right. But Ecoladang has engineered something completely different. They aren't just growing food. They have transformed the microfarm into a hyper-efficient, closed-loop, data-driven biological factory. In this factory, the Kampong chickens and the rabbits aren't just livestock kept in cages. They are the star employees, actively processing the heavy biomass and the insect waste, converting it into premium protein, an incredibly valuable worm-cast fertilizer.
And the agricultural waste isn't a liability to be hauled away. It is the literal fuel for the farm's energy grid and the foundational feed for its cultivation loops.
And overseeing every single interaction, every gate opening, every humidity fluctuation, and every heartbeat is a sovereign on-site AI supercomputer. An AI that not only ensures perfect biological efficiency and prevents disease, but also manages to sell its own excess computing power to the global digital market, all while guiding a novice franchisee through the daily operations via real-time software prompts. It is a masterclass in turning biological chaos into highly profitable mathematical precision.
It truly is a paradigm shift. And as we conclude, it leaves us with a broader, perhaps even more profound architectural question to ponder. We have just spent the last hour exploring how a localized, sovereign AI data center can seamlessly orchestrate the inherently messy, chaotic biology of chickens, rabbits, insects, and plant waste to achieve a perfect zero-waste, highly profitable ecosystem. It makes you wonder, if this technology can perfectly optimize the chaos of a farm, what other failing chaotic human systems could be revolutionized by this exact kind of hyper-local sovereign AI oversight? Could we apply this architecture to our deeply inefficient urban waste management systems? Could this model untangle our congested city traffic grids? If we can close the loop on biology, what else can we fix?
Now, that is a truly fascinating question to leave you with. Next time you see a chicken or look at a data server, you might just look at them a little differently. Until next time, keep diving deep.